This is Charles Kao with Travelport TV at the Focusrite Conference in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with Gordon Wilson, the President and CEO of Travelport. Good to see you again, Gordon.
Hi, Charlie. Nice to see you too.
As always, I'm curious what Travelport's been up to for the last year and what it has planned going forward. Of course, at this kind of a semi-techie conference, you're pushing the Travelport Developer Network, but you can talk about that and what's there for travel agencies, tour operators, and suppliers.
Sure. Well, the answer is we've been doing quite a lot, over the last year or so. Let's start with the Travelport Developer Network. This is all part and parcel of our major investment in our Universal Application Programming Interface, which basically enables developers through one set of code to get to all of the contents both within our GDS and that we aggregate outside of our GDS, including low-cost airlines, independent hotels, rail companies, etc. So we've been busy putting together our developer network. We've just launched it here at Focusrite. We've got about 20 development companies already signed up for it. Huge degree of interest in it, because the feedback we're getting on our universal APIs, it really is becoming very rapidly a ubiquitous standard as to where any developer who wants to build a mobile app, a desktop app, a browser-based app, or whatever, can come and get this rich source of travel content.
Everybody needs that data, that rich content.
Exactly. And that's what we're about first and foremost as Travelport. Our aim is to be the best travel content aggregator in the world, both the stuff we've already got in the GDS and all the content we're progressively adding outside of it. And an example of that is we launched recently a product called Rooms and More, which is basically where we're aggregating hotel content aggregators. So people like Mickey Travel of Japan, Fast Booking of France, we've got people like Expedia Hotels in there, etc., whereby our travel agencies can see all of the offers for all of the hotels, the independent hotels, that these aggregators already provide, but in one screen, in one user experience. They can contrast and compare all the rates from various aggregators for the same hotel. They can see the different commission rates they're going to get, and it all books in one place.
Well, at the end of the day, these aggregators you're speaking about, that's what really Hotels.com, Travelocity, Orbitz are. They have contracts with hotels.
They do, exactly, and there are some that specialize in just being aggregators as opposed to being retailers as well.
So travel agents will be able to book these live
in real time.
Mark it up.
It's a commissionable rate. So the travel agencies get paid commission by the aggregator, and we Travelport stand by the commission payment. So they can compare and contrast the rates. They can see what commission they're going to get from different aggregators for the same hotel property, and it all interfaces then back into their Travelport booking in the Travelport GDS. And today, this is real and live. We've got about 580,000 hotel offers in the system already, which is quite something from a standing start. And with the aggregators we've got lined up to implement into the system, that should rise to over 2 million in the next 12 months or so.
Wow,
that's a very exciting.
That's Is that our first GDS play in this area?
Yeah, I've not seen anybody else do it. We did it using the technology of a company called Sprites that we bought. Sprites is a meta-search company based out of Strasbourg, France, with operations also in Singapore. And we bought Sprites. And the reason we bought Sprites was particularly because we liked what they were doing in meta-searching hotels in particular. And the unique thing we brought to market here is that unlike a traditional meta-search whereby it brings the content together and then you're sent off to this owner site to make the booking, with the Sprites application in Rooms and More, you stay in the same user experience. You're not sent off left, right and centre. You stay in the same user experience all the way through to end transaction, booking and payment.
So that's something new for travel agents, and you're bringing in hotel consolidators. What else is new?
Well, all that content over the course of 2012 will also be made available through our UAPI. So any developer that writes to our UAPI will be able to get all the content in our GDS and these, 600,000 hotel offers that we've got in the system already. We have our Universal Desktop, which is our new platform for agencies. Now that again is in rollout. We've completed rollout in New Zealand with Flight Centre. We've done 60% of their locations in Australia. By the end of the year we should have done 100%. We've started deployment in South Africa and in the United Kingdom, and we've just signed our first agency in America, Kane Travel, based out of Colorado, who will go onto Universal Desktop. So you'll see a much more aggressive rollout of Universal Desktop over the course of 2012. And of course this is all about changing the travel agency workflow automation process, driving greater efficiency, enabling rich data content aggregation, because the Universal Desktop is powered by the same Universal API we make available to our developer community. And we really think it is a kind of groundbreaking product, and it's now going into full production launch by the end of this year.
And so all that efficiency. What about the user interface?
The user interface is graphical on a universal desktop, although the agency can flip into the green screen cryptic entries if they choose to. And you will have a generational thing whereby there will be some people who want to use cryptic entries, and then you've got, not to be ageist, but younger people who won't dream of using cryptic entries. So we enable the best of both worlds. But I think reality as well, Charlie, is that over time, as you get more tailor-made offers from suppliers, airlines, car rental, hotel companies, as we facilitate better the ability of airlines and others to offer their ancillary products, their tailored products, their bundled and unbundled products, really they're going to need to go into something other than a green screen display, because the green screen display will not keep pace with the way that vendors or suppliers of product are changing the way in which their product is sold. And so that's why it's so important that the Universal Desktop enables the graphical sale of those products in terms of compare, contrast, shop, and then book.
Looking at the numbers that crunch through your GDS, what do you see that reflects the economy, about the economy this past couple of quarters, and what may be ahead?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously the great thing about our business is we see all the forward bookings, in the system, because our system range is 335 days out. So what we've seen over the course of this year in terms of history is a much stronger recovery of the corporate travel segment. That's up about 10% in volume terms, transactional terms, year over year. We've definitely seen a flattening, of the growth in the OTA sector of the market.
The online travel agencies.
Online travel agencies, yeah. And we've seen relatively strong growth in the regional, sector of the market, both regional TMCs and regional offline agencies, funnily enough, have continued to grow quite well. It has been a patchy picture around the world, though. The US marketplace, in terms of GDS overall bookings, not just ours, but overall market, is down year over year. Although, funnily enough, it seems to have gone back into positive territory in October, which is pleasing. And our share of the US market has gone up. As Travelport was required to mainly through customer wins. We've grown our share of key online travel agencies like Priceline. Orbitz has had better growth, as a result of American coming back in and some of the things that Orbitz have done. And we've won other accounts in the market. So a good old-fashioned way of growing share. You turn to Europe, and you've got a real mixed bag in Europe, because you've got markets like Germany and Scandinavia, which have been growing quite strongly. But you've got other markets like Italy and Greece, which, as you might imagine, are in negative territory in terms of growth. So Europe is not one market; it's a very.
So it's been reflective of the economies we've been hearing on TV.
Yes, exactly.
Spain and Ireland, I suppose, are a bit down
Spain
as well.
and Ireland not so good. Greece very bad. In terms of overall growth, and then Italy, going into negative territory, and UK basically flat. Germany doing well, Scandinavia doing well. Now, how long that will last for going forward, because clearly the austerity measures in Europe are going to go across the board, is hard to tell. And a lot of it is about confidence, right? It's about consumer confidence, which is driven in turn by kind of economic and the financial markets confidence, which heavens, if I could predict that well, I'd be doing a different job than I'm doing. But we remain optimistic about the future. I think the Europeans will get through their troubles. We're seeing some signs of some better confidence returning to the marketplace. But it is a fragile environment.
How are you doing in Asia? I know you're not the biggest player there.
Well, we're pretty near the biggest player in Asia.
You are?
We're pretty near the biggest player in Asia.
Yeah.
If you look at Asia Pacific as a region, it's basically neck and neck between us and Amadeus in terms of who's number one in terms of volumes of bookings. In Asia on its own, Abacus is a much bigger player in Asia, but much weaker in the Pacific markets. But in APAC, Travelport or Amadeus kind of vie for number one position in terms of volume, because we are, a leading player in India, which is a massive market in Asia, as you might imagine. We are market leader in markets like, from a GDS point of view, like Australia and New Zealand, and we have strong positions in the corporate market in particular, in places like Singapore, Hong Kong, etc.
So those numbers are going north.
Those numbers are going north. Asia continues to grow. It grew about 6% in volume terms in the last quarter alone, which is a very pleasing result. And we continue to be optimistic about Asia. The big market, obviously, that we're not in a meaningful way is China, because the Chinese market currently, the foreign GDSs, the global GDSs, can't participate in the mainstream Chinese marketplace. So
you see that changing? Wasn't there something that kind of opened up the last 6 months?
The Chinese, not yet. The Chinese are thinking about it. They're thinking of introducing a new GDS code of conduct in China as a precursor to opening up the marketplace. But it's hard to put a timescale on it.
Where does this fit in the World Trade Organization regulations of closing GDS?
Yeah,
that's another
a question
subject
for our politicians, I think.
Gordon Wilson, President, CEO of Travelport. Thank you. Good to see you, sir.
Only a pleasure. Nice to see you too.